All right, get ready for a deep dive. We've got some seriously mind-bending material today.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be looking at Brotherhood of the Screaming Abyss, Debt, the first 5,000 years,
Okay.
the secret teachings of all ages, and the Illuminati, the secret society that hijacked the world.
Quite the collection.
It's psychedelics, ancient economies, and secret societies all in one. On the surface, they seem completely different.
Right.
But I have a feeling we're going to find some wild connections as we go.
I think you're right. What I find fascinating is that they all deal with this idea of hidden knowledge.
Ooh, I like that.
Whether you're talking about altered states of consciousness, like with psychedelics, or you're looking at how power structures evolved over time, or trying to decode the secrets of these, well, secret societies.
They all have that element of mystery to them.
Absolutely.
So let's start with your personal journey into the world of psychedelics, as you wrote about in Brotherhood of the Screaming Abyss. You and Terrence were fascinated by consciousness. What was it about ayahuasca that drew you to the Amazon?
Well, we were driven by this thirst, this desire to explore the unknown, the uncharted territories of the mind, you could say. Ayahuasca seemed like a key.
Yeah.
A key to unlocking these hidden dimensions of consciousness, tapping into ancient wisdom.
Really going beyond the everyday, the mundane.
Exactly, exploring the very nature of reality itself.
Your book details some pretty intense experiences with DMT and psilocybin mushrooms, too.
Oh, yeah.
There's that one part where you describe encountering a mantis-like entity while on DMT.
Right.
It sounds like something straight out of science fiction. What was that like?
It's difficult to describe. DMT it catapults you into this realm where the normal rules no longer apply.
Wow.
Physics, perception, everything changes.
Yeah.
This entity, it was terrifying, but awe-inspiring at the same time.
It's hard to even imagine.
Like a being of pure intelligence and alien beauty, it left me with this profound sense of the vastness of the universe and just how much we don't know.
It seems like that would really shake your understanding of reality. In the book, you and Terrence try to make sense of these psychedelic experiences through different lenses. You even look at scientific concepts like electron spin resonance.
We did.
What was it like trying to reconcile those profound, almost mystical experiences with scientific understanding?
It was a challenge, definitely, a balancing act. We were trying to bridge the gap between the subjective, those otherworldly realms we encountered, with the objective language of science and reason.
Right.
It was about finding a framework, a way to understand how these experiences could transform our understanding of consciousness.
Make sense of it all.
Exactly.
Your book also talks about the challenges of coming back to everyday life after these profound journeys.
Oh, yeah.
And there was even some tension between you and Terrence as you processed your experiences differently.
There was.
Did these journeys change how you view the world, how you interact with it?
Absolutely. It's one thing to have these incredible experiences, but to then try and integrate them into a world.
That doesn't quite get it.
Yeah, a world that largely doesn't acknowledge these realms, it's tough. Terrence and I, we had a deep bond. We were both searching for the same thing, but we had different personalities, different ways of processing what we'd encountered.
So you were on this journey together, but you came away with different perspectives.
We did. He became this passionate advocate for psychedelics, really embracing that psychonaut role. But I felt more drawn to the scientific inquiry. I was more cautious about integrating these experiences.
It's interesting how a shared experience can have such different interpretations.
It really is.
You mentioned how deeply these psychedelic experiences affected your worldview. Can you talk about that a bit? How did it shift?
It's not easy to put into words, but they definitely changed my perspective on the nature of reality, how limited our perception is.
You see things differently.
Yes. And I gained this deeper appreciation for the mystery of it all, the universe, but also a sense of humility in the face of the vast unknown.
You were pushed to the edge of what you thought you knew.
We were. It forced us to really question our assumptions about reality, about consciousness.
That's fascinating.
It was quite a journey.
It sounded like it.
It really was. Yeah, it really pushed us to our limits. And speaking of systems and limits, let's talk about another system that shapes our world, debt.
From the inner world to the systems that structure our societies. It does seem like a big leap.
It does.
But debt, the first 5,000 years, takes us through history, showing how debt's been intertwined with civilizations from ancient Sumeria all the way to now.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to see how the idea of debt itself has changed over time. Like in ancient Mesopotamia, they used silver to calculate debt, but you didn't necessarily repay with coins. It could be barley, goats, even lapis lazuli.
Wow, really?
Yeah, the temples and palaces, they were like the economic hubs. They had a use for almost anything.
Interesting. It was more about social obligation then.
It wasn't really financial debt as we think of it today.
Right. It makes me think of baseline communism, which the book talks about.
Oh, yeah.
This idea that in those ancient societies, sharing and social obligations were just woven into life.
Exactly. It was understood that within a community, people would help each other out.
You'd support each other when needed.
Right. It wasn't about some big political ideology. It was just about survival.
Makes sense. And of course, what was considered shareable varied.
Oh, of course. The newer people, for example,
Right.
they shared food and tools freely, but cattle, which were their main form of wealth,
Yeah.
those were fiercely protected.
Different communities, different values. But then, as history goes on, things change, right? Debt becomes more, I don't know, more monetized, more abstract.
It does, and maybe even a bit more sinister.
Yeah.
The book really highlights how the concept of usury charging interest on loans, that really emerged and became so central to our economic systems today.
So it went from a social obligation to a financial instrument.
It did, and that
Yeah.
had huge implications, you know? It led to the commodification of labor, wage labor.
And even things like prostitution.
Exactly.
It makes you think about how much our understanding of ourselves, our relationships, is shaped by this system of debt.
It really does. It's like this hidden force behind so much of our behavior.
Yeah. Have you ever, participated in a sharing economy, like borrowing tools or ride sharing? It kind of reminds me of that baseline communism, but in a modern way.
It is, yeah. It's those echoes of those old systems,
The obligation, the reciprocity.
but transformed by technology and the market.
Right. Speaking of hidden forces, what about secret societies?
Oh, yeah. That's a whole other realm, shrouded in mystery.
Okay, so we've got excerpts from The Secret Teachings of All Ages and the Illuminati, the secret society that hijacked the world.
Right.
What stood out to you from those?
They both offer a glimpse into this world where knowledge is power, and that power operates in the shadows.
It's all so clandestine. Secret handshakes and symbols.
It really captures the imagination.
Yeah, it does.
I think what's really interesting is that these societies often see themselves as protectors of hidden wisdom,
Okay.
knowledge that could be dangerous if it fell into the wrong hands. It's a theme that we see throughout history, from the Egyptian mystery schools to today, with all the fascination around the Illuminati.
And speaking of the Illuminati, that book really focuses on their supposed influence on history,
It
the
does.
French Revolution, modern global politics.
Right, and it's a controversial topic, of course.
Oh, definitely.
They've become this, mythical entity.
Simple.
Yeah, a catch-all for all these conspiracy theories about hidden power and control. We have to be critical of those claims.
Of course.
But there's no doubt that secret societies have played some role in shaping history.
The question is, to what extent and what were their goals?
Right, exactly. It's like trying to put together a puzzle. Yeah.
With some pieces missing, maybe even some intentionally misleading ones.
But there's still that drive to try to understand these hidden networks of power.
Absolutely. It reminds us that there are layers to reality.
Things we don't see on the surface.
Right.
So we've got these seemingly separate threads. Psychedelics, the history of debt, and secret societies.
Yeah.
But what if they're not so separate after all? What connections are you seeing?
Well, one thing that connects them is this pursuit of transformation.
Oh.
Personal and societal transformation.
Okay.
Psychedelics. They can trigger huge shifts in consciousness.
Right.
Debt. It's shaped economic and social structures for centuries.
Yeah.
And secret societies, whatever their goals are. They're trying to influence the course of history, often in secret. They all represent different ways of accessing knowledge or power.
Interesting. Sometimes with the aim of reshaping reality itself.
Exactly.
It's fascinating to think about how those desires for knowledge, power, control play out in different ways throughout history.
It really is. From the individual looking for enlightenment through psychedelics
Yeah.
to these secret societies vying for influence.
It's a reminder that these drives are so deeply human.
Yeah, it really makes you think about how those desires shape everything, how they manifest in different ways, from personal journeys to societal shifts.
It's all connected. and makes you wonder about the ethics of it all, you know?
Oh, yeah.
The desire for knowledge, for transformation, those can be good things, of course, but they can also be twisted, lead to manipulation, exploitation, even destruction.
That's true. I think it's important to remember that there's potential for both good and bad in all these areas.
Absolutely.
Psychedelics, they can unlock incredible insights,
Yeah.
but they can also cause real psychological distress. Debt can be a tool for growth,
Right.
but it can also be a source of oppression and secret societies.
Yeah.
Innovation on one hand,
Right.
but perpetuating inequality and injustice on the other.
It's a tricky balance, for sure. It brings up a big question for me.
What's that?
How do we navigate all of this responsibly? How do we make sure that this pursuit of knowledge and power doesn't come at the cost of, well, basic ethics, compassion?
That's a great question. It speaks to the importance of critical thinking, self-awareness,
Absolutely.
and being honest with ourselves about our motivations, whether it's exploring our own consciousness with psychedelics, or participating in economic systems built on debt,
Right.
or just trying to understand these groups operating behind the scenes
We have to be aware of the consequences.
of our actions.
Exactly.
Going back to your psychedelic journey for a moment, in the book,
Yeah.
you and Terrence, you trying to ground your experiences in scientific understanding.
We did.
Was that partly about trying to navigate those ethical complexities?
It was, definitely. We both knew that psychedelics could be dangerous.
Yeah.
The risk of psychological harm, getting lost in delusions.
Yeah.
We felt a responsibility to approach it carefully. We wanted to integrate it into a worldview
That made sense.
that could be beneficial, not just for ourselves, but maybe help others understand consciousness better.
A framework for responsible exploration.
Exactly.
I think that's a really important point. And it connects to this larger idea of balance, wouldn't you say?
I think so, yeah.
This desire for knowledge, for
Yeah.
transformation,
It's powerful, but it needs to be tempered by wisdom
compassion.
and an understanding of how connected we all are.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It applies to everything we've talked about.
It does.
Psychedelics, economic systems, secret societies. Finding that balance is crucial
It's
for a just and thriving world,
for all of us, really. It's a reminder that everything we do has consequences.
even with the best of intentions.
We have to think about those consequences.
Yeah.
Strive for that balance.
Use what we know, what power we have.
To benefit everyone, not just ourselves.
Well said. So we've explored a lot today.
We have.
Psychedelics, ancient debt, and the world of secret societies. Is there a key takeaway you'd like our listener to walk away with?
I'd say whether you're exploring your own consciousness or the systems that shape our world or the forces at play behind the scenes, approach it all with a critical mind, a sense of curiosity, and an open heart.
Keep questioning, keep learning.
Exactly. The pursuit of knowledge can be transformative, but we have to be responsible with it.
And remember our interconnectedness.
Oh.
It's a powerful message to end on. A huge thanks to you for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
And to our listeners for diving deep with us into these complex topics.
We hope you enjoyed it.
We hope this has sparked your curiosity, made you question some assumptions, and maybe inspired you to explore these ideas further on your own.
Keep searching, keep questioning.
The journey of discovery never really ends. Thanks for listening, everyone.